Kenzie here. I just wanted to say something very quickly before this episode starts. We call this episode of The Peaceful Truth more lighthearted than the others because we aren't discussing a serious women's issue, and we recognize that some of these conspiracy theories are based on extremely sad incidents, but the circumstances around them are interesting and can seem like a mystery. Welcome to The Peaceful Truth, where we talk about everything from women empowerment, feminism, and more. But today's episode is a fun one, and it's about famous women and conspiracy theories.
Yay!
Dun, dun, dun.
We both love conspiracy theories.
We do. Okay, ready to get started?
Yep, let's go.
Okay, so what do you think about conspiracy theories?
I love hearing about all conspiracy theories. I love hearing about all sides of it. This idea came to us from Kenzie's love and one of my loves, Jenna and Julian podcast, who does conspiracy theories quite often. I think they have 4 episodes about it.
They call themselves the Dink Fam. So
yes.
Dink dink to my other dinks, even though there probably aren't anyone listening. But yeah.
So I like to hear about them, but I most likely will 0% believe them. What about you?
Yeah, I'm a huge skeptic. Yeah.
But they're still fun to hear about, and they're still really fun to research. I've never actually straight up researched one before.
Me either.
And so it was really fun.
It was fun. It was really cool. I kind of got into it, and we can say at the end we're gonna say whether we actually think they're true or not. You know? But as I wanted to do I think it's funny now, in our first episode, I couldn't tell if preface was preface or not. So I'm going to just start calling it prefacing. So preface. So it's not at all fact what we're about to say, but, or at least what I'm about to say. I can't speak for Megan, but it's
same here.
Okay, cool. So it's fun to hear about, but as a journalist, I have to say this because I'm anal, but as a journalist, I'm a big conspiracy theory skeptic, but it's interesting and entertaining, like we just said. And I would also like to note that some, but not all of the websites that we cite themselves are not reliable. Tabloids, which I hate as a journalist because they just kind of make up things. And if even someone in their newsrooms says something, they quote it and they say a source says.
Right.
So, but yeah, this is just fun and lighthearted stuff.
For sure.
Well, actually, the conspiracy theories are a little dark, so.
They are a little dark, but we wanted this episode to kind of be a little bit more on the fun, lighthearted side. Last week we tackled catcalling, and so this week we just wanted to have straight up fun.
Yeah. So, okay, me or you? You want me?
You go first.
Okay. So I feel like mine are well known, but for people that don't know conspiracy theories as well, I feel like it's going to be interesting for them. So sorry if you're a huge conspiracy fanatic and you're like, I know this one. Princess Diana.
Yes. Strong lady.
Strong lady. So it's actually ironic, Meg. So we were talking actually about energy this past week.
Mm-hmm. So
tell us, I am not very religious or I'm just more spiritual, but
right. You don't know about the whole energy thing.
Yeah. So explain what energy is.
So to me, what energy is the energy that you put into this world is what you're going to get out of it. And so some prime examples that you and I ran into this week were I can't remember the last time I was catcalled, and then we did an episode on catcalling. We put that energy into this world, and then what did I get back? I got catcalled nonstop, this whole week. And so some people may say, oh, it's because catcalling is on your brain. And so then you're automatically just noticing it more because catcalling is there in your brain. Some people may say it's the energy. You put the energy in the world of catcalling, and so now it's coming back to you. And so with that, that's why I try to put positive energy into this world. So that's how I get out of it.
I think it's more than that too, Megs.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I agree. And so I'm I'm kind of a skeptic, but it's so weird, like what we've seen this past week. So like for catcalling, like I screwed up last week and we had to refilm the podcast. So we had Meg has, her Sundays are kind of packed and Sundays are when we record. And so she had to come back later on, bless her heart. I'm so sorry you had to do that.
It's okay.
And she had to come back. But in between that time, I got catcalled.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really weird. And I don't think I'm completely giving this away, but one of my later conspiracy theorists is Amelia Earhart. And just this week, we had decided that, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago about Amelia Earhart. And then just this week, like more information came out about Amelia Earhart. And so it was kind of spooky.
That leads into my thing about both of my ladies.
Okay.
There's new stuff developing.
Really?
I know. Like, what sort of energy is that? Like, we just randomly picked these that came from our brain. Like,
I don't
what?
know.
So I didn't even realize this. Like, I just picked Princess Di because I've kind of heard like there's conspiracies, but I didn't know them. But it's 20 years since her death this August.
Oh, wow. I did not realize it's been 20 years.
97. And it's ironic because a television special is going to examine all the conspiracy theories soon.
We've got to watch it.
On TLC, though. TLC has some sketchy things. No offense. But yeah.
Cool. I definitely want to watch it. I mean, it's just going to be fun to see. And she was such a strong, such a beautiful woman, inside and out beauty. And so
she had some demons, though.
She did have demons.
Yeah, which I didn't know.
Well, yeah, both of us were probably way too young to fully understand, you know?
Yeah, so if you're a millennial, like this might seem old news if you're you were kind of more cognizant at the time or a little older, but like for millennials, I feel like I was like
little
6.
Yeah.
So, okay. So anyway, I'm going to name my sources at the start so they have credit. So for my background info, I looked up for Princess Diana Today, biography.com, BBC and PBS, New York Times, CNN, History Channel. And conspiracy theories is by McSweeney's, Reuters, Guardian, ThoughtCo, and Wikipedia.
Oh, girl, I use Wikipedia too. Don't you worry.
Embarrassed about that. Okay, so I'm going to just give a little background about my ladies.
Okay.
Before. So Princess Di was born in 1961, and she died on August 31st, 1997 in Paris, France. She was only 36 years old. And what is even more eerie is I'm also doing my other ones about Marilyn, and they both died at 36.
Oh, they did?
Isn't that weird?
That is kind of weird.
Okay, so in 1981, at just 19 years old, she married Prince Charles.
I had no idea that she was that young when she got married.
And later, of course, she had Prince William and Prince Harry. So in my opinion, like before I go into this one, to be so young, I just feel like I've grown a lot since 19, and I don't believe that you can't grow in a relationship, but her relationship's different than most. She was thrown into the spotlight. It's a job dash a relationship,
right? And
to be thrown into that limelight figure at 19 years old, I think that's a lot.
Yeah, that's not easy.
You're still developing. Not that I don't think you can't get married at a young age,
and at work.
And it could work, like Chelsea and Aaron, they're great.
Right.
But it's just, I think it's difficult. So she was described as adored, popular, and a compassionate princess. But let's go into her marriage.
Okay.
So here are some quotes by her, and I'm just going to read them verbatim. I think like any marriage, so quote, I think like any marriage, specifically when you've had divorced parents like myself, you'd want to try even harder to make it work. And you don't want to fall back into a pattern that you've seen happen in your own family. I desperately wanted it to work. I desperately loved my husband, and I wanted to share everything together. And I thought we were a very good team. That's before, stuff went down.
Right.
Second quote, this is all about her marriage. The most daunting aspect was the media attention, because my husband and I, we were told when we got engaged that the media would go quietly, and it didn't. And then we were married. They said it would go quietly, and it didn't. And then it started to focus very much on me, and I seemed to be on the front of a newspaper every single day, which is an isolating experience. And the higher media place you, is the bigger the drop. And I was very aware of that.
Dang, that's almost just like so, you and I don't even understand that because we've never, I mean, I guess you've been in the media way more than I have.
Yeah, it was like a small town thing though.
Right.
Like Wichita Falls is kind of a medium-sized community, but small in the scheme of things.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I've never been in the media's attention. And so I can't speak and I can't understand fully where she's coming from. So that quote was really interesting for me to hear.
Yeah. So she got pregnant with William right after the wedding.
Oh, she did? So
she's like 20.
20?
Yeah. Around 20 years old. And she had severe postnatal depression.
Interesting.
And said that after she had that, people started to label her as unstable and mentally unbalanced, and a label that stuck within the marriage. And people in Prince Charles's circles claim she's unbalanced throughout time to kind of defend him, it seems like. That's my own.
That she was unbalanced throughout the entire
well,
marriage?
Well, like, because they had instability later, so, like, they kind of fell back on, like, blaming it on her, like, her being mental.
That she was just unbalanced.
Yeah, like, they, like, as their defense. So I think that's a difficult label to be stuck with.
For sure. I mean, nobody wants to be labeled as unbalanced or mentally unstable.
But you're not, like, there are mentally, like, that's a whole topic onto itself that now I think is becoming more accepted. But, like, mental illnesses shouldn't be labeled negatively so people can get the proper help and, you know, feel like a sense of normalcy. And that shouldn't be, like, downed upon. But at the same time, she wasn't mentally ill. She had postnatal depression, which is very different than being mentally, like, having a mental thing go on.
Right.
You know,
Tom Cruise would argue.
It goes away.
Right.
Yeah, or I don't think it doesn't last forever.
I mean, I don't think
postnatal?
it lasts forever.
I don't think it does.
I think you need to get help though whenever it does happen.
Yeah, and it's your body doing something. Any mental imbalance is a chemical. Mm-hmm. Like, no one should be ashamed. It's not their fault. So she admits to hurting herself.
Oh, really?
Like, I'm not going to describe it for younger listeners, but she hurts herself during depression and marriage, mentioning several times that she was very self-conscious and had bulimia.
I did hear that she had bulimia. That's a rough one.
She described herself as, like, fat often.
Oh my gosh.
And she's not. That's like a severe skewed perception of yourself. She felt like the media liked her more than Charles, and she didn't necessarily want that. She wanted it to be equal, and says jealousy came of that.
Jealousy that Charles was jealous that.
That's all the article said, but yeah. I think that's what the article wasn't very clear on that, and that's a difficult part in journalism because you know what you're talking about.
Right.
So I think it was jealousy from Charles.
Yeah. Which, if you're the prince, and then here it says your wife is getting all the attention. Yeah. And both of you want it to be equal, maybe. Or I don't know, maybe Charles wanted it all for himself.
Like, not to be, like, rude, because I'm all about women empowerment, but he was the one, like, where she married in. You know, Queen Elizabeth was the one.
Yeah.
And then she has Prince Philip, who married into that, but, you know.
Right.
I don't know. So media put pressure on their marriage, and it wasn't a surprise because it was visible, I guess. But in December of 1992, officials announced that Charles and Diana were separated.
In 1992?
So they got married. They lasted a while.
They did.
1981. That's a long marriage, actually, or a long relationship. Anyway, Prince Charles admitted to infidelity in a documentary.
Yep. Oh, I have this really funny story that my mom told me. Apparently, you know, Camilla, who is his current wife, apparently there were these text messages that, like, these dirty texts that they were texting each other. Maybe it obviously wasn't text because text maybe wasn't back then. Maybe it was like a straight up email or written letter or something. It
had to be.
Yeah. So they were like dirty.
Like,
they were dirty
90s.
messaging each other. And the media somehow, it was leaked to the media. And these, I don't know if this was pre-divorce or after divorce, but they were linked to the media, and the exchanges were really funny. It'd be like, "Hey baby, let me just see what's under those knickers." I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
No offense to England. I'm like have English heritage, but sometimes like their vernacular seems so proper. So I'm like, let me see what's under your knickers. It like feels like let's engage in coitus. Like
We should find out what they really said. It was something along those lines that would like totally make you laugh whenever you read them.
okay, that's hilarious. I need it. I need to look that up. Younger girls, don't look it up. Keep your innocence as long as you can. She also admitted to infidelity with her riding instructor, James Hewitt. So Diana
Was
also admitted to it with
both
James
did.
Hewitt.
You know what? At least they both admitted it.
Yeah, but I think he kind of did it first, from what I read, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Her husband's relationship with Camilla Bowles, is that how you say it?
Bowles?
Bowles. Who they did get married, and they're still married. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they're straight up still married.
I just feel like I just don't pay attention to royalty that much. Let's see. After the separation announcement, she was still popular, but no longer considered a true member of the royal family.
Too bad.
So she's not sure. Not sure if that's by the public not considering her royal or the family themselves. But I didn't know also that when you get the title princess or prince or some sort of royalty, do you lose your last name?
I have no idea.
Because
maybe.
Have you ever heard Princess Elizabeth or Queen Elizabeth? What's her last name?
Wilmington. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I was like, someone correct me. Someone, like, I couldn't figure it out. But I know that Princess Diana's maiden name is Spencer.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what you do. We need to know more about this.
But when you Google them, they just say blah, blah, blah.
Maybe you do. Maybe it drops off. Like Cher, like Prince.
Yeah, you're such a baller.
It just drops off.
Princess Kenzie. No, Queen Kenzie. I want to be queen, not a princess. Okay, cool. So that means that the paparazzi continued to follow her up until her death. And in 1993, though, she decided to temporarily leave her public life. She also stopped her police protection, even though cameras continued to follow her.
Dang.
Which is a little risky.
Yeah.
And then, but she wanted normalcy. I get it. Like, you never know how you're going to react if you're in those shoes.
Right.
She was divorced in 1996 and then died in a car crash in Paris in 1997. They were going through a tunnel at high speed, lost control, hit a concrete support. It was driven by people in the car were two passengers, Princess Diana and the driver. And she was one of those passengers and I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. I'm just terrible at pronunciation, but Dodi, it's either Al Fayed or Fayed. I think it's Fayed.
I think it's Fayed too.
They were romantically linked though.
Oh, okay.
The driver, Henry Paul, was hired by the Ritz Hotel. Just these things are interesting to note for later on. And the survivor was a bodyguard named Trevor Reese Jones.
Okay. And he's still alive today?
I don't know.
I think so.
Is he? Okay. So the actual causes, or what seems might be legitimate. Some reports say that Henry, I'm just going to call them by their first names, even though I should call them by their last names. Henry Paul. I'm just going to call him Henry. So Henry was drunk was some of the reports, but Dodi's father thinks it was organized by British Secret Service. That's later on. Other reports, the car was being chased by photographers and paparazzi, which was true, but there's no way to actually say, like, did that actually
cause it?
I mean, yeah.
Right.
I think that, I don't know. Anyway, the conspiracy. So it obviously seems like an accident, but the conspiracy is that she was murdered. and the car crash arranged to look like an accident.
Oh, so that she was murdered even before she was in the car.
No, I think like the car crash is what killed her, but it was arranged to look like it wasn't.
Oh, like it was an accident.
Yeah. Okay. So Henry, these are conspiracies now. So I'm not accusing him, but this is just like the theories. So Henry had a direct cause. It's claimed that he wasn't just a driver. He was National Security Service that caused her death. He was hired by them. But what I'm like, then why would he die himself?
Yeah, I guess.
What's the motivation to like die yourself if he was hired by them?
Maybe his family was promised money or something.
Maybe.
I mean, I can't think of why else you would sacrifice yourself.
Or maybe they killed him off. I don't know.
Right.
You want to hear a really outlandish one?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Another claim, he was hired by Thai Beanie Babies.
What?
Do you remember, if you remember Beanie Babies back? They're still here. They're still a thing. We bought some for actually a friend yesterday
I
who was a child.
love Thai Beanie Babies.
Do you remember how I have it? I think still. The Thai. Oh, I wish I had it with me. It's
The
at my mom's
Princess
house.
Di.
The Princess Di.
Oh my gosh, Kenzie.
Do you remember that?
Do I remember that?
If you had Beanie Babies, like the Princess Di one back in the 90s was like the thing.
Can I tell you, my mom and I love Thai Beanie Babies so much that my mom found an ad in the newspaper for this Princess Di, mint condition.
You couldn't find it?
No, we couldn't find it. And mint condition tag. Remember how important it was that the tag wasn't messed up?
Yeah, like you could even buy cases for the tag.
So we met this woman in a McDonald's parking lot and bought
She
this
brought
Princess Di. Yes, for, can I tell you how much? My mom is going to be so pissed that I said how much.
Sorry, ma'am.
$100 for this tiny little purple bear.
Come on, you guys.
It was going to be worth something in the day. It was going to be worth something.
Okay.
Now, how much is it worth? I still love that one, though.
Should we Google that? Oh, sorry, I hit my mic.
Is it like, what, $5 now? But you guys, that Thai Beanie Baby, it was purple. It had a white rose on its chest. It was the Princess Di Beanie Baby. That is the funniest conspiracy theory I've ever heard, though. How much is it worth?
Oh my God, I have one. Some of them are selling for, I don't know,
$90,000.
This is $250,000.
But is anybody really buying it? Is that just what the price tag they're putting on it? If so, I'm about to go fly to Texas and sell this thing online right now.
Mom, sell it.
Cheryl, get on the internet and sell our Princess Di bear now.
Same to my mom. So some say his blood samples actually belonged to a suicide victim, and it was not him. So the reports of the cause were unreliable. So some people don't believe he's drunk, and I read conflicting reports as to whether he was really drunk or not. Like I couldn't tell whether he was or not officially from what I was reading. But some say that his blood samples belonged to a suicide victim, so the suicide victim was intoxicated, and I guess they say he wasn't. So I guess they skew the reports to I guess whoever actually they think did it, murdered her, that it was like a setup to make it look like he was drunk and it actually wasn't his blood.
I feel like for something as big as this, we should know if he was drunk or not. It should
I'm
be
confused.
a proven
I'm sure
fact.
there's an article that says it, but then there's legit articles that
say that he wasn't.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't get it.
Interesting.
Because usually it's black and white. Mm-hmm. Which one was it? And some say he waved at the photographers before they left to signal that they were leaving.
That could be true. I don't know.
So that's kind of mainly Henry Paul stuff. But then there's some other stuff that mentions him again, but that's the conspiracy. Anyway. Another claim, she was pregnant with Dodie's baby, but not married. So the British family arranged the car crash. Wouldn't tolerate a child being brought into the family this way.
Oh, that is so terrible to get pregnant before marriage.
But Tess, we don't believe that.
No.
But Tess say she wasn't.
So they did a blood test, I guess, and then she wasn't pregnant.
But, I mean, unless you tested her blood, how can you really believe it? But a lot of theories say that the tests weren't investigated properly.
Okay.
And Dodi's father, Muhammad, who I'll talk about even more later, says he was like really into the fact that, and he maintains, I think he's still alive to this day, that it's arranged that they were murdered.
Oh, so Dodi's father thinks that one of these theories is true.
Mm-hmm. Dodi's father insists that they told him she was pregnant.
Oh, as a couple, they told him.
And insists that she was murdered. And even though I didn't really want to mention this, they also said, and I don't believe this, and this is a sensitive topic, and it pains me to even say it because I just want love and equality for everyone, and but they say it's also because he was Muslim.
Oh, so then the royal family didn't want,
because it's Christian based, which is
right. Kenzie did a major eye roll there for those of you who couldn't see it with your own eyes.
Yeah. That ticks me off. Anyway, moving on. Another claim. British secret intelligence was involved in her death. The MI5 and the MI6, government and royal family also behind it. The royal family didn't like that she would marry someone of a different religion. Another claim, an agent was pretending to be a member of the press and caused her death. Father Muhammad claims as well as Richard Tomlinson, who himself, Tomlinson, was a former spy himself. So both Muhammad and a former spy claim the secret government involvement to be true.
Well,
I mean, it's a lot of hearsay. Some suggesting that Henry Paul was a Secret Service agent. However, some others say that Prince Philip was the mastermind. That's not Prince Charles, that's Philip, so that's Queen Elizabeth's husband. I don't understand that. Also claims that Prince Charles wanted to marry his lover, and that's another reason.
Well, he got to do that, so...
They're divorced. Why would it?
Wait, who? Marry who?
Camilla. Why would she have to kill... Why would they have to kill Princess Di for that?
They wouldn't have to. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of a silly one.
Okay. Maybe it would be more acceptable. I have no idea, but I just don't think that's true. Another claim is that a white Fiat Uno... I don't even know what type of car that is.
I don't either.
Witnesses say they saw one leaving the tunnel, like witnesses on the scene, and may have been involved in the accident. Like caused it and then it drove off.
And then just drove away.
Driven by former French security guards. This is another theory. Levant, I can't pronounce his name, but driven. One of the witnesses say that it was driven by a French security guard, which I don't understand the significance necessarily about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but some say it was driven by an agent, like a Secret Service agent, to deliberately block the limo's path.
Dang. These are all really intense.
It's all sad.
It is all sad.
Another claim, and this is, I think, true. Not like I'm really trying to be sensitive of what's true and what's not. But emergency crews purposefully took not the fact that they took. I don't think this part is true, but it took them a long time to get to the hospital.
Oh, whenever the ambulance got there to pick her up.
So they arrived at the scene at 12:30 in the morning, and they didn't get to the hospital until 2 a.m.
What? That long?
So emergency crews purposefully took a long time to take to the hospital is a theory.
Oh my gosh. That is a long time. And she was still alive because she died in the hospital. So that entire time she was alive.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is really fishy if you ask me.
Survivor, and they claim there's reasonings, like it took them a long time to get her out of the car. They were being sensitive. I don't know.
Well, they do say that whenever you're in a car crash like that, they do say you have to be extremely careful because then...
Yeah, if you pull them out, it might cause them to die.
Be even
if
worse.
There's some sort of thing that's pressing on them.
Maybe that's true.
I don't know.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. All of it's benefit of the doubt. like what I always go off is based of what officials say, which isn't always reliable. You need to like be questionable of them. But anyway, so the survivor, what about him? Trevor. I tried to do research on him, but like I feel like he like lost memory of it, or like why isn't there's a survivor? I didn't even know there was a survivor. The fact that there was like
he maybe knows a lot.
Super critical.
Right.
But apparently he got like hurt, obviously. So I think he had brain injury. So
maybe he doesn't remember.
So he gained consciousness after a week from the accident. So that means he did have a mental injury. Mm-hmm. But he says later on that he felt pressure by Muhammad, Dodi's father, because he was a security guard hired by Muhammad and Dodi.
Okay.
So Dodi, he says he felt pressure by Muhammad to support the conspiracy. And I didn't find much about him.
That's interesting that there's not much out there. But I guess if it took him an entire week to gain consciousness back, then maybe he honestly doesn't remember much.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about whether we think it's true. What do you think, Meg?
I don't know. I think the whole thing is incredibly tragic, incredibly sad. The only one that I can truly rule out is the Thai babies. Although I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, that one's outlandish.
But if anything, out of all these, because we're doing 4 conspiracy theories today, and this is the one where maybe I believe it a little bit.
Me too.
Especially because of the...
there's a lot of sketchiness.
There's a lot of sketchiness, and the fact that maybe the queen and the royal family didn't want her to be married to a Muslim man.
Or they're just pissed that the marriage ended, and that she's moving on.
Yeah.
And she still reflects onto them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's the most believable one I've heard.
Me too.
I don't know. Oh, I should have done more research about what happens if you get divorced from the royal family. Are you still considered technically a princess? Because afterward, they still called her a princess. So maybe she was still royal, and whatever baby she had or whatever she did was still mildly a reflection. When you get a divorce, are you done?
Right.
If you were married in. I have
don't
no
know.
idea. You would think it would be, but I don't know if it was.
I don't know. That's a really good story, though.
So maybe that's if she's still considered technically a princess, then I see the sketchiness.
Right. If she was pregnant, then would that baby be a prince? I don't know.
She was technically still of high up blood. I think her family was declared some sort of high up thing. You know how there's lords and then there's blah blah blah. I think they were something before they even got married. Anyway.
Thanks, Kenzie. That was a good one.
That was a good one. Okay, I'm ready to hear yours.
Okay, so I'm really happy because this one is really lighthearted and really different than Princess Di. So
mine are dark.
Yours are dark and mine are more light. I originally found this conspiracy on Esquire.com, but popdust.com really has all the great details. Such a reliable source.
So is Esquire. I mean, they have never been wrong and never made up anything.
So, it is believed by some conspiracists that Britney Spears was on George W. Bush's payroll during his presidency. So every time George Bush had a controversial issue come up in his presidency, he would allegedly slip Britney Spears some money under the table to do something crazy so the media's attention would leave him and go to her instead. And I have some timeline facts that really just line up great. So George Bush was president from 2001 to 2009. And when did Britney Spears had her big public meltdown?
2007.
Yep. The main year we remember is 2007.
How do I know that?
You so knew that. But some of her antics started out as far back as 2004. So here are some key dates that line up with the theory. January 5th, 2004. President Bush needs to publicly distance himself from the Valerie Plame scandal. Do you remember the Valerie Plame scandal?
No.
I don't either. And it's probably because it was 2004. I was a freshman in high school. You were even younger than that.
Yeah.
So we don't know who Valerie Plame is. But what it was is Valerie Plame had her identity as a covert officer of the CIA leaked to the press by members of the George Bush administration. And so then it was made public that Valerie Plame was in the CIA.
And what was she doing before, or what was she known as?
I don't know. I think whenever you're the CIA, you're supposed to like pretend that you have this whole separate life that you're not in a CIA.
Oh, okay.
And so then this was known as the CIA leak scandal. And so she was made public that she was part of the CIA by somebody that was in George Bush's administration. And so Bush needed the media's attention to divert away from this big mistake. And so what did Britney Spears do in 2004? Do you know?
No, I don't remember.
She married Jason Alexander in her famous 55-hour marriage. I'm sure you remember that.
Is that the Las Vegas wedding?
Yep. So Britney and Jason got married on January 3rd, 2004, and then it was annulled on January 5th, 2004. So here's the timeline of the Plame scandal. On July 14th, 2003, Robert Novak, a journalist from the Washington Post, used information obtained from Richard Armitage at the United States Department of State, effectively ending Valerie Plame's career with the CIA by revealing in his column her identity as a CIA operative. Valerie later resigned from the CIA in 2005. So to me, does this timeline really work? It was all the way back in July 14th, 2003 that it was revealed to the public that Valerie was in the CIA. And then Britney and Jason didn't get married until January 2004. So, I mean, it's a bit of a really big stretch here to me.
Wait, so why would that even align though?
Well, part of me is because, it was released July 2003 that she was in the CIA. Britney and Jason got married January 5th, 2004. And then Valerie didn't resign until 2005. So part of me thinks that maybe, if we were to transport ourselves back to this time, maybe in January, it was still a really big scandal because I'm sure
it was relevant.
Yeah.
They were re-talking about it. Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a lot of, I guess there was maybe still a lot of media attention. I don't know. We would have to go back in time to see if it was really
interesting.
A big deal. Okay. So that's
okay.
That's one of the ones where the timeline is I don't know.
Well,
if it's right.
I was about to bring it up, but I guess if you say it was under the table, I was like, wouldn't it come up on your taxes? But
supposedly it was all under the table.
Okay.
So then on April 11th, 2006, Bush's approval rating hits an all-time low of 38%. So what does Britney Spears do? The child welfare and a sheriff's deputy visits Britney's home that day to talk about her parenting skills. Her 6-month-old Sean was alleged to have been hurt after he was dropped from his high chair, and 2 months before was the famous picture of her driving with him in her lap. Do you remember that picture?
No.
Yeah, she was driving, I want to say it was a Jeep, if my memory serves me correctly, and it was the baby was in her lap and she was driving.
Oh no.
And then
which is highly dangerous.
Yes. And so then he was alleged to have fallen from his high chair and gotten hurt. And so child welfare and a sheriff's deputy visited her home the same day that Bush's had the lowest approval rating.
Fishy.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. Then on November 6, 2006, the Republican Party faces one of the biggest elections in many years. There are 33 Senate seats and 435 House seats open, and the public opinion is not on the Republican side. So, in order to divert the attention from the election, Britney Spears does none other than announce her split from her husband, Kevin Federline.
Okay. Here's where I have an issue. Wouldn't they want publicity?
George Bush?
Yeah. Wouldn't the Republican Party want publicity?
Maybe. I don't know.
You wouldn't want to shove it under the table. You would want like people's opinions to change. It's not like Britney is going to change your opinion.
Are you saying that popdust.com is not reliable? Is that what you're telling me right now?
I said nothing of the sort.
So then in February 2007, President Bush announces the reformation of Al-Qaeda. And this could be really damaging for his career as president, as he had previously promised to eliminate them after 9/11. And so then here he is announcing the reformation of Al-Qaeda. In typical Britney fashion, what does she do? She shaves her head and bows out of rehab. February 2007.
No, we all remember that one.
We all know that one.
Well, didn't she shave her head so she couldn't get drug tested? Because like...
is that what it was?
Well, like... drugs stay in your hair.
Right.
So if you pull like a follicle sample, they can see you like really far back.
And so then she was just like, get rid of this, baby.
Yeah. Because I think they were going to test her for her kids. This is all like what I think I remember. So it might 100% all be wrong.
Right.
I don't know. I think that's why.
Okay. Then on March 14th, 2007, President Bush's Attorney General Alberto Gonzales is under heavy scrutiny. He had proceeded over the firings of 8 U.S. attorneys, and apparently this is a really big deal. And later on, Alberto Gonzales resigns himself. Instead of paying attention to that, the media diverts its attention to Britney Spears, who was hooking up with Jason Philol while she was in rehab. Jason Philaway? I don't know. He was the lead guitarist of none other than the rock band Reva. And apparently
I don't know any of this.
I don't know any of this either. Apparently it was a big deal because...
None other.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Apparently it was a big deal because Britney, this Jason guy was apparently like, I guess you would call him like D-list celebrity. And so here it was like this A-list celebrity hooking up with this D-list celebrity, and it apparently caused a bit of a ruckus back in 2007. And so according to today.com, Britney and Jason even had pet names for each other. And so he called her Sugar, Kitten, and My Lady. And then this is my favorite.
I would punch a man in the face if he called me Sugar, Kitten. I'd be like, it's over.
And then
that's a deal.
She called him Jason and My Secret Underground Guy. Whenever I read that, it was on today.com. Whenever I read that, I was like,
why would you call?
Hey, Secret Underground Guy. It's just like the strangest pet name in this whole world.
That's a long pet name.
So
I just like the classics. Babe. Okay.
So outside of these timelines, Britney also fiercely defended Bush in Michael Moore's movie Fahrenheit 9/11. And additionally, she was caught canoodling with Karl Rove. And Karl was a senior Bush White House advisor. They were caught canoodling at a 2002 Cirque du Soleil show in Rome. And so this is saying that all the way back in 2002, Britney had ties to the Bush administration.
Oh, okay. I was like, now we're going back in time.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I interject something really random? What I will say is interesting, and I am a huge skeptic, obviously, but just to like fuel it, like I think it's entertaining to fuel conspiracy theories too, you know, the kind of believe them, it's entertaining. But in recent years, the paparazzi hasn't given two blanks about Britney Spears.
Right.
Do you know any news stories? Do you know what's going on with her life?
I think maybe she's on X Factor. Maybe. That's all I know about her.
But when in the early 2000s, she was all the news, all the rage. She's still performing. She's still producing music. Why? And this happened after the Bush administration.
Right.
Why does no one care about her anymore?
And another thing that was kind of interesting to me.
No one cares about Britney. Everyone cares about Britney, but
The paparazzi.
We don't know about her social life as much.
Right. And something that I thought
That's
about.
sketchy.
Me and you are like prime Britney audience. We were young in 1990s. You know, females, we really liked Britney Spears. And so I remember every single one of these things happening to Britney, and I do not remember any of these things happening to George Bush. We were really young. I'm curious, like, what our moms and dads remember. Like, I don't know if my dad is the best example because he'd be like, Britney who? But, like, I wonder which one my mom would remember. Like, if I were to say those two dates and then say these two events, Mom, which one would you remember?
But also, like, I know from a journalist perspective that, like, we might talk about we want to talk about Britney Spears as much into, like, a reliable source, or at least nowadays maybe it's changed. But I don't know if I believe that, like, CNN was, back in the day.
You mean like who is reporting on these Britney like
people?
Like, for sure, like people,
the presidency.
Us Weekly.
Yeah, but like the actual news outlets,
like which nightly one were they reporting on?
Is nightly news going to be like talking about? I don't know.
Maybe the head shave. The head shave was a big deal.
So I really do. I feel like it's sketchy that no one talks about her as much anymore.
I know.
That is sketchy.
It is.
Do you agree with me? Do you feel like the paparazzi? It was a big deal that the paparazzi always followed Britney Spears. Now it's like Kim Kardashian.
Right.
But like,
I don't know. So
why don't we care anymore? Like, why?
Maybe it's because she has her life together now, and so
there's no drama.
Maybe there's no drama.
But she's had a lot of breakups and
she has had a lot of breakups and romances, and she was engaged, and I don't even remember his name.
Yeah, you know. Why don't we care?
We just don't anymore. It's
why?
Weird. It's because Bush isn't paying her anymore.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe that either.
But I to fuel their fire.
Right. To fuel popdust.com. Right. And it was kind of funny because afterwards, Pop Dust, once you read the article, they like did a poll and they were like, okay, what percentage of you believe it's true? And you could vote yes, no, blah, blah, blah. And I have the exact stats, but I can't find them right this second. But I want to say it was like 60-40. 60% did not believe it and 40% did.
Okay.
So I think I'm in the 60%.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
So something, I wanted to bring a little bit of yoga in here because I mean,
to Britney Spears and George Bush's scandal. Yes. How does this yoga thing relate?
So do you know who Ram Dass is?
No, I'm sorry.
That's totally fine. He is a spiritual leader and an author, and he's very famous, especially in the yoga, the bhakti, the spiritual seekers community.
Okay.
And so one of my favorite stories about Ram Dass is one that my harmonium teacher told me. And Ram Dass was sharing with his followers how easy it is to love people that you agree with. So it's really easy for me to love you, Kenzie. You align with my views. You align with my morals. You and I agree on lots of topics. It's really easy to love you. It's not easy to love people who have different opinions than you and who drastically go against everything that you believe in. It's not easy to love those people. But as a spiritual seeker, we believe that there is a divine light in everybody. And so we believe that there's a divine light in Kenzie. We believe that there's a divine light in George Bush. We believe that there's a divine light in Donald Trump. And so it's really hard to see that divine light whenever you strongly disagree with those people's opinions. And so when George Bush was president, Ram Dass strongly disagreed with Bush's decisions that he was making as leader of America. But at the same time, Ram Dass wanted to remind himself that, hey, this is a person too. He has a soul the same as mine. And so he put a picture of George Bush on his meditation altar. And so usually a meditation altar will be made up of pictures of loved ones, statues of deities, candles, incense, flowers. It's supposed to be things that you love and that bring a lot of happiness and positivity into your life. And so Ram Dass just stuck this picture right up of George Bush right in the front of his altar to remind himself that even though I don't agree with his viewpoints.
Okay.
He's-
That's respectful.
It is really respectful, isn't it? And so the rumor has it is that now he's replaced that picture of George Bush with a picture of Donald Trump on his altar. And here's a quote from Ram Dass about his altar. Love everyone and tell the truth. So I have to love the soul that is George Bush, the soul that has taken on this heavy karma, the heavy karma of all this shit he's got to do. I cannot like the karma, but I've got to love the soul. The soul has got a road to hoe. I can love George Bush because I love the soul, and I can therefore be true to my commitment to my guru.
Okay. That's a good thought.
I thought so
You should
too.
love everyone. And that's what we believe too. Even though it's hard, you're right, when you really disagree with someone to your core. But I think that's probably the purest thing.
Yeah. And like sometimes in yoga classes, it's easy for us to say, yes, I love this person that's looking back at me, but that's because this person has the same morals as me and the same opinions and the same goals. And sometimes our teacher will remind us and say, okay, if you were looking at a person who disagreed with everything that you stood for, could you still love them? And so the answer is you want to say yes, but it's really hard to say yes sometimes. So I just thought that was it made me think of it, like me researching George Bush.
That's hard.
Yeah.
All right. Marilyn Monroe is mine.
Yay.
Are you done with yours?
I'm done with mine.
Okay. Marilyn Monroe. Okay. So my sources, for her background is imdb.com. For some reason, I always want to say BD. Biography.com. Conspiracy websites. The Rap. History.com. Fox News. Express.co. And Metro. It was on there. Okay, so some background. She was born in 1926 as Norma Jean Mortensen. And she died August 5th, the same month, at 36 years old. August 5th, 1962. She's, for the even newer generations, I hope you know who Marilyn Monroe is. But if you don't, she's a beloved actress and singer. And she became a sex symbol and very culturally celebrated actress. Would you agree?
Definitely.
But she also had a dark history. Do you know her childhood?
I don't think I know her childhood.
Her childhood's dark.
Really?
And I don't know. It kind of like the psychology of how she would be screwed up later is like, that was hard for you to overcome, like, I don't know. So she went back and forth with her mother who suffered from mental illness. And I'm sorry if that's not the correct way of articulating that. Is that?
I think so.
So she suffered from a mental illness. Her mother was a film cutter in LA. So that means back in the day when you used to, oh God, this sounds like a nightmare coming from a videographer's perspective, but you used to have to like cut film and put it together to edit it.
Like cut film with scissors?
Yeah.
Oh.
And like tape it together and then it could be played.
That is interesting.
Ugh, that's a struggle. And she was born never knowing her father. She was in and out of foster homes and orphanages.
I didn't know that at all.
So her mother lost custody because of this mental illness and maybe other things too. I'm not for sure, but got custody of her again at 7 years old when Marilyn was 7 years old, but had a mental breakdown very soon after. Again, she was committed to a state hospital and never had contact with Monroe again. She was never knew her parents. She was taken to a foster home and then her mother's friend and then an orphanage again and then returned to live with her. Gladys is her mother's name. Gladys's friend, Grace Goddard. So Grace Goddard is the friend that she was on and off again of her mother that she lived with. Where at 16 years old, Grace Goddard's husband began molesting Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, I didn't know that it was
at
that
16.
dark.
That's bad. That's like the worst of the worst.
Right.
Then she went to live with the aunt of Goddard's. So Gladys's friend, Goddard, she went to live with her aunt. Does that make sense? So Goddard's aunt.
Okay.
So like really removed from Maryland, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I don't know, maybe she knew them all, but before having to return to the Goddards again, she had to go back to the house.
Oh my gosh. So no stability.
No stability, in and out of orphanages, foster homes, plus this family that molested her.
Poor girl.
You don't even know what happened in the foster homes.
Right.
Not to say that like foster parent, like there's been bad situations in foster homes.
And there's been good situations.
And good, but you know,
Both.
sometimes it happens. So they decided, she finally moved back in with them again. And they had to move. They decided to move when she moved back in with them. And they can't legally take her where they move for some reason. So either she had to go back to an orphanage, which she had bad experiences at, that never like details on what those experiences were, but she didn't like them, or get married at 16.
Those were the options.
Back in the day.
So which one did she choose?
She got married.
She did.
She married a friend and neighbor, James Doherty. And divorced in 1946. He left to serve in the military. But during their marriage, she modeled. And while he was out serving, she modeled during that time. And then she became interested in acting. And so their divorce, he ended up asking which one she wanted to choose. Because back in the day, women, like it's like marriage or, you know, nothing. And you have to focus on me or nothing. Very misogynistic. So I guess she chose acting classes. Go girl.
Cool.
So she left him and she got a divorce, which back in the day, I think divorces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as common.
So she got a contract with 20th Century Fox in 1946. She changed her name and created the character Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, nice.
But she dyed her hair. So who knows what she was like really feeling, you know, the public light. She chose to be someone else.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. I mean, you never know who she really was, I kind of feel like. But she changed her name, and then in 1948 got a contract with Columbia. So she starts getting bites. So she later resigned with 20th Century for a 7-year contract, and soon after, in the early 50s, became a superstar in all these films. So she had a series of romances, and she was married twice before. Joe DiMaggio, I've heard his name.
Baseball player.
I'm not super into sports. They divorced, and later she married Arthur Miller, a playwright. So around that same time, she tried to get more serious roles. And around this time, she also started her own film company, is what one of them said. I never knew that.
Oh, wow.
So she was really trying and a really rock star. And she divorced in 1961, a year before her death, Arthur Miller. But she had a dark side too. She had addictions. She had not like addiction is a disease. So it's, you know, also you need help for this and it shouldn't be shamed. But anyway, she had addictions. Alcohol and pills were her vices. During this time, I don't know if this was with Arthur Miller. I should have done more research, but within her lifetime, she had 2 miscarriages. I think she really wanted to be a mother.
Okay.
And so those were painful. Like she really had that desire is what I've heard from people. So that's, God, miscarriages are hard.
Right.
That's rough. She was accused of affairs as well. Like JFK and his brother,
that one.
Bobby. Did you know that? Also Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby and JFK.
So a year after those divorces, she died. That there were accusations of drug dependency that year and dropped from different projects because she was late on drugs, is what some articles said.
I didn't realize that she was dropped from projects.
Yeah, it interfered with her life too much. And then her death, 1962, by a coroner says is probable suicide, drug overdose. But just to keep in mind, I'm just trying to paint a scene here, but found naked with a phone in her hand when she died. To me, when you have a phone in your hand, that seems sketchy. Like you're calling for help.
Right.
Either you regretted attempting suicide, or I don't know. I just think that's sketchy.
So whenever they say that the cause of death was probable suicide, did they clarify if it was accidental or on purpose?
I don't know. Is it considered suicide if it's an accident?
Yes. It would be called accidental suicide. So she accidentally took too many pills, but she didn't mean to take too many pills.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was intentional.
Okay.
But that makes me question it when a phone's found in her hand.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Does that make sense why you question it? Anyway, conspiracy. Here's the conspiracies. Kennedy rumored romance cited in many of the theories. Okay, so a few months before her death in August, she died in August, but a few months before that, I think it was like May or April or June, she sang Happy Birthday, Mr. President.
Yes, the famous Happy Birthday, Mr. President.
Which JFK was the president. It's interesting to watch. It's kind of sexual.
Oh, it is?
Like, but she kind of just a sultry
Well, yeah.
person, so I can't tell if it is sexual or if it's just she's a sultry person, but it's like Happy Birthday, Mr. President, and it's kind of creepy now.
And was it in front of a big group?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know. It's kind of creepy to watch now. I don't know why, but it is. Also cited that she was involved with Bobby Kennedy, the brother of JFK. Obviously. So, but this is for younger generations. I'm also painting a picture for younger people who didn't hear about all this stuff. So several conspiracies that she was either murdered by JFK or Bobby. Why? Because they feared she would go public with the affair and or government secrets she knew because she was close with them. Also, some articles say that Bobby was in town around the time of her death.
I wonder if Bobby and JFK knew about each other. Like, did they both
Jealousy,
know
maybe
that
even?
they were sleeping with the same woman?
I don't know. History.com, that's kind of gross if they did. History.com, and if they did do it, we don't even know if they actually had these affairs. History.com says Bobby visited her on the night of her death, but the liability isn't 100% clearly.
Right.
They claim she might go public with this info because she was rejected by the brothers. So whatever she knew in government secrets, because she was rejected by them, she would go public. Or murdered by the CIA to cover up their romances or leaking the information. Claim she was wiretapped throughout those last few years when she had the romances. Other things to note, no trace. These are just other things to kind of back up the conspiracy theories, but again, not found reliable. Other things to note, no trace of pills were found in her stomach during the autopsy, and no drinking vessel was found in her room, suggesting it's not a suicide.
How could there have not been pills found in her stomach if she allegedly took a bunch of pills?
Did she digest them fully? Was it digested, like the acid already took them out and it just was in her bloodstream? Or would the pills still be present?
I don't know.
I don't know that. Some claim the evidence was mishandled and obviously that she was injected with something instead, I guess.
Yeah.
But they staged it. I don't know. Here's the outlandish conspiracy.
I love the outlandish ones.
UFOs.
Yes. Yes.
She was murdered by the CIA not to expose her knowledge of Roswell.
Of course. She knew all about the aliens.
They claim that JFK told her he knew of the evidence of extraterrestrials and officials panicked that she might disclose said information. This is all claimed in a brand new, like we're talking about energy, this is all claimed in a brand new documentary that came out this year, Unacknowledged.
Wow. That is a really outlandish one.
I don't believe the Marilyn Monroe one.
I
think something happened. I think it was like she accidentally took too much. But I think it's a stretch to say that someone murdered her.
Yeah, I think that she accidentally took too much too. But then the phone thing is kind of weird. But maybe it could have been, oh, I regret doing this and I want 911 to come.
I believe, maybe you freak out after you do it.
Yeah. I had no idea that her childhood was so dark.
Yeah. It makes me just think about the psychology of her life afterward, if that makes any sense. Like if you're molested at a young age, I don't know. That's difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And it also shows that everybody has their issue. I mean, everybody has their issues. Even beautiful Marilyn Monroe, who we all admire and look up to.
Yeah, so like you see these ladies on posters, you see them in the limelight, and that's like another thing going against our theory on social media being too positive. Like it's like painting a picture of something that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has demons.
Everybody.
Okay. Your last one. I'm excited for this.
Amelia Earhart.
Yay.
I was researching it last night at midnight, and I was creeping myself out. I was like getting goosebumps because Des was asleep, and our apartment is so tiny. Like, I'm never scared in our apartment. And I was sitting on the kitchen table with like this little light on next to me because Des was asleep. And then I was just like, this is creepy. And I was scared to go wash my face after I was done. I was like scared to walk to the bathroom.
No, I didn't realize it was this like intense.
I mean, it was midnight, so maybe it was just
You're
the fact
just
that
so
it was.
tired.
Yeah,
I'm freaking out. Okay.
So I got all of this information from National Geographic, Nat Geo for short. I feel like that's a pretty reliable source. Nat Geo?
Yeah. I am excited.
More reliable than any of the other ones we
maybe
said.
Amelia and Princess Di.
Yeah.
They kind of might have some reliability to them. Dun, dun, dun.
So on July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan took off from New Guinea on one of the last pieces of their around-the-world flight. I didn't realize that it was at the end. Like, they had done so much, and this happened at the bittersweet end of it. They were trying to get to a small island north of the equator in the Pacific Ocean. They never found the island, and ever since then, nobody has ever found them. So you always hear the theories that they probably crashed in the ocean close to the small island that they were trying to get to. And actually, this is the official U.S. position, is that Earhart and Noonan ran out of gas on their way to the island and crashed in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So this is the theory that gave me a little bit of goosebumps. Another theory is that they landed on a small speck of land that was southwest of the island that they were originally trying to reach. And so this land is like so small that it doesn't even have a name really. And the proof of this theory is that in 1940, a man named Gerald Gallagher discovered 13 bones buried near the remains of a campfire. He also found pieces of 2 shoes, one man's shoe and one woman's shoe, as well as a box that once held a navigation device.
Did they never test any of this?
It's coming. The bones were shipped to Fiji to be measured and were subsequently lost. Who loses bones? Who loses bones that could be Amelia Earhart's bones? Isn't that kind of weird? So they were, they had been measured and then they were lost. And so what researchers have done is they've applied modern techniques to the measurements that were taken. And they determined that the bones could have been from a woman Earhart's size and build.
Oh, no.
Additionally, at the site that Gerald Gallagher found, there was also evidence of several campfires. There were remains of birds, fish, turtles, and clams, indicating that somebody had once eaten food there.
Wow. Trying to survive.
Yep. Based on the way the clams were open and the way the fish were eaten, so the heads of the fish were left behind, the person who was eating was probably not a native Pacific Islander, because native Pacific Islanders would have eaten the entire fish, including the head.
My goodness.
I know. Several 1930s era glass bottles were discovered, including a glass bottle that may have contained freckle cream, a cosmetic that Amelia was likely to have used.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Well, okay, here's the thing. Like, whenever I read this, it was like, well, one of them may have contained freckle cream. Well, how did you know if it contains freckle cream or not? But anyway, if there was some kind of label still on it or something, that would have been really cool. So, currently, they are deploying 4 dogs that specialize in sniffing out human...
Currently?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They...
2017?
Yeah.
Oh. Why did it take them so long?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I keep interrupting you.
They are deploying these 4 dogs that specialize in sniffing out human remains, and their smell can go as deep as 9 feet underground. and they can smell out remains as old as 1,500 years old.
I would not like to be that dog.
I thought you were going to say something completely else. I thought you were going to say how much you admire these dogs, because I do. That is amazing. And
that's amazing.
And then you were like, I would hate to do that job.
Can you imagine if your nose was that sensitive? Everyone would be so stinky. Like, I already hate BO. You would like smell it. Like, everyone would be stinky. Like,
you have a really sensitive nose. I know you do. Your nose is way more sensitive than mine.
How do you know I do?
Because you always smell things that I don't smell.
Oh, I think smell is like a super sensitive sense. Like it links to memory.
Mm-hmm. But you have a better nose than I think the average human.
Mine's as good as a dog that can smell 1,000 years. So I would hate that. Anyway.
These dogs have a higher rate of success than ground penetrating radar. That is how good these dogs are.
They're so cute too.
Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
Okay. So this is the third theory. This is the one.
Wait, what was the first?
The first is that they just crashed in the ocean.
Oh, okay. That was the like logic one.
Yeah.
Okay.
US
well, that one's kind of logical if there's evidence. Okay.
I know, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the third theory that is in the news right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we found this past week, so it's like energy again.
Yep. So the third theory is that Earhart and Noonan weren't able or intentionally didn't make it to the island that they were trying to reach, and instead they headed north to Marshall Islands, which was controlled by Japan.
Why would they not want to go to this island anymore? They didn't want to.
Dun, dun,
were they
dun.
cheating?
You'll see.
Oh.
They were then taken hostage by the Japanese, possibly as alleged U.S. spies. Some believe that both were killed by the Japanese, while others believe that they may have returned to the U.S. and taken fake names. So,
when did she be recognized?
I don't know. That's one of the theories, though. So, according to one theory, Amelia took the name Irene Craigmile. She married a man named Guy Bolam and then took his last name, so she would have been Irene Bolam. Irene Bolam later died in New Jersey in 1982. So that's one theory. In 2003, Rollin C. Reinick, a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, claimed that if Amelia couldn't find the island that she was looking for, the plan B was to cut off communications and head for the Marshall Islands and ditch her plane there.
Why?
According to Reinick, this scheme was meant to allow the U.S. government to rescue Earhart in the Marshall Islands while performing pre-war reconnaissance on the Japanese.
Oh.
So, am I saying that word right? Reconnaissance?
I don't know.
Okay, I think it's something
get the
like
context.
that. Here is the definition of reconnaissance, because I was like, I think I understand it.
That's a $10 word.
Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. It's military observation of a region to locate an enemy or ascertain strategic features. So some believe
that's what I thought it meant.
That she went to this island on purpose to scout out what the Japanese were doing before the war, pre-war.
So she never wanted to complete. They're suggesting that she never intentionally was going to complete it. I just feel like she was trying so hard to complete it. Like, what would her motivation be? Was she trying to cheat the system too by going to this other island?
I think one of the things that I read very briefly was that the president, who I think it was President Roosevelt, paid her to do that. Paid her to, like, the plan.
Would that be considered still going around the world though?
I don't know. The plan A was to go to this island, and then if they couldn't find this island, the plan B would be like, oh, I'm going to take Roosevelt's money and I'm going to see what Japan is attempting to do with the war and find out their strategy and stuff, and then tell Roosevelt. I hope it was Roosevelt. I'm sorry if I'm an idiot. This was based
on a new photograph, right?
Yep. So, which I'll get to in 2 seconds.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Apparently this plan went bad, and when Earhart radioed that she was heading the north, the Japanese intercepted it and took her hostage when she landed. So Dick Spink, a high school science teacher who is an Earhart enthusiast, is trying really hard to prove this theory. He says that there is proof that they landed on a tiny island called Millie. Spink said that this theory is confirmed by way too many Marshall Island residents to ignore it. He said he has heard with his own ears Marshall Island residents say, "She landed at Millie. Our uncles and aunts, our parents, and our grandparents."
Is that the same thing as the Marshall Islands? That's like one of the islands?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
These people that live there are saying, our relatives know that she landed here. Spink even spent $50,000 of his own money to search for the spot that they landed. He says the theories will be proven by scientific proof eventually. And there is the new documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that not sound right in my head?
Documentary
on the History Channel that claims there is a photograph of a dock on one of the Marshall Islands that contains Amelia and Noonan. They argue that the Japanese thought that they were U.S. spies and they were imprisoned on the island. So they say that there is this photograph of them on the island and they were being held as Japanese hostages. So the argument against this third, brand new theory is that Earhart was close to that intended island that she was trying to go to when she uttered gas is running low. And it's proven fact that she has said gas is running low. And the distance from her intended island and Millie, that really small island, is 800 miles, which is nearly 4.5 hours away at the speed that they were going. So they're saying if she's saying gas is low, there's no way that she could have continued to go 4.5 hours.
But was she, okay, did they have the technology to know exactly where she was at that point? Or
yes.
They did. So they
maybe not exactly, but they knew that they could see where the general, I feel like maybe exact location of where she was.
Was she on a radar or
yeah.
Or did she just tell them she was at this location and she was actually somewhere else?
I want to say it's a radar, but she could have, if Roosevelt paid her to go to this island and scout out what the Japanese were doing, she could have had it in the plan to say gas is running low, even though gas wasn't really running low. I mean, there's a lot of arguments that you could say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of cool one, right?
I love that one.
So on her Wikipedia page, Amelia Earhart was widely known as an international celebrity during her lifetime. Mm-hmm. Her shyly charismatic appeal, independence, persistence, coolness under pressure, courage, and goal-oriented career, along with the circumstances of her disappearance at a fairly early age, has driven her into lasting fame. Hundreds of articles and scores of books have been written about her life, which is often cited as a motivational tale, especially for girls, and she is generally regarded as a feminist icon.
Yay, Amelia. Who knows?
Which one do you think, the first, second, or third?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think
there's not enough evidence to say one way or another.
I know. The second one.
They're not outlandish either.
The second one, to me, I feel like we can't deny that they found all of these things. So if it wasn't Amelia and
someone else,
Fred, it was somebody else that was there and didn't want to be there.
That's scary. Huh.
I mean, somebody was there and somebody was eating all of those fish, clams, turtles.
So the plane would have gone down and maybe they swam to shore or something. Because it didn't land on the island or else they would have that.
Yeah. So they somehow got to the island.
They swam?
And then they couldn't find the plane. But the second, I don't know. The third one is kind of creepy too. How the Marshall Island residents are our grandparents know that she was here. I mean, that's word of mouth. I mean, I guess. But it's still kind of creepy.
I don't know. Well, maybe we will find out one day.
I know.
It seems like it's promising that we'll find out one way or another. Okay. I have really fast ones because I know we need to wrap up. But can I just say really crazy ones?
Yeah.
Okay. So other crazy women ones, they're very short. I found from Pop Crush. These are just famous women nowadays, and these are just crazy. Khloe Kardashian is actually O.J. Simpson's daughter.
Yes, that one. I mean, I don't know.
So the claim is that she doesn't exactly look like her other sisters, which she's taller.
Yeah.
They're pretty short. Like, they're as short as I am.
Right.
And she's taller than them. That's the only thing. But then Kendall's so tall. But Kendall's related, I guess, to
Bruce.
Bruce. I don't know. Or no, not Bruce.
Oh, sorry, Caitlyn.
Caitlyn. So, yeah.
I don't know if it's... I don't think it's true.
Rumored that in general, Robert, though, was not her father. It was even on an episode where she doesn't even want to find out.
Oh, she doesn't even want to find out?
She doesn't get a paternity test on that show. She, like, debates whether she should. So, anyway, it was on the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Shameless pleasure. Maybe I'm a big Kardashian fan. Maybe not. So, anyway, that's a whole different story onto its own. Okay, so Beyonce was never pregnant with Blue Ivy.
I mean...
So,
I don't want to be pregnant either, so I wouldn't blame her.
Oh, I would love that. I think I would love being pregnant.
You just want to be pregnant all the time.
Not all the time. What? No. I want to do it when it's ready, but I think it would be good to carry. I don't know. I think it would be fun to carry a child, but I might not be able to. You never know.
Right.
So Beyonce was never pregnant with Blue Ivy, but there's, I mean, I don't believe it. I don't believe this, that she actually was having a surrogate carry it because she didn't want to be pregnant. But there's a video of her sitting down before doing an interview.
Yeah.
And her belly does cave in all the way like a balloon.
That is weird.
So I like look at it and I'm like, but I still believe she was pregnant because I think there's bikini
But how do you
photos.
explain that?
But I think there's bikini photos of her pregnant. Like, how would you take Photoshop? I don't know.
We may never know if she was pregnant.
And then Illuminati stuff about Beyonce, but that's annoying, I think. So any other crazy one is, sorry if you believe in her being in the Illuminati. Other crazy ones, Avril Lavigne, this one's hilarious, died and was replaced by a lookalike.
I totally found that one. I almost did a complete one on that.
Do you believe it?
I mean, I don't know. Her name is Melissa, the girl that replaced her. And some of her fans, like, she'll tweet out. I saw that she tweeted out, like, Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers or whatever. And the replies of the tweets, I don't know what you call it, was like, it's okay, Melissa. We know it's you. Like, her fans are, like, calling her Melissa. And are like, Melissa, it's okay. You can tell us who you really are. Isn't that kind of funny?
He was a skater boy. She said, see you later, boy. Okay. That's hilarious. All right. Well, are we going to stay positive in our life?
We're going to stay positive in our lives. So my positive is that the other day this week, and we had just done the episode on catcalling, I was walking home from yoga. And so I had my laptop, I had my yoga mat, I had my workout bag. I had so much stuff in my hands. I had like this full busy day. I was walking home and you could tell that I had a really busy day because I was lugging around all this stuff. And I passed this man who was in a park, and I believe he was intoxicated due to the fact that his words were slurring, and he had a beer can with, you know, the brown paper bag over it. And so I was like, oh no, he's going to say something about my butt or something. But instead, he looked at me and raised his beer and said, cheers to all your hard work.
Yay!
Isn't that a good one?
I love that one.
I know. I thought so too. Cheers to all your hard work. Thanks, man.
Good. You are a hard worker. She like has all this stuff to do today, and she still takes the time to do this. But you love it, so I know you love this podcast.
Yep.
But I have a funny, just kind of story that's like related to randos on the street. Okay. And this is sad, but it's like weird, but it's sad. Not like, I'm not trying to like belittle it or make it bad, but someone was tripping on drugs very hard. And it's sad because there's a big homeless issue in Seattle. I don't know if he was homeless, but you know, you can kind of tell just from context, because judging a book by its cover, unfortunately, when someone is homeless. And he was tripping. He licked a stop sign.
Oh no.
He
Germs.
looked intensely at the stop sign, and I was just like bad traffic in downtown Seattle. So I was just sitting there, and it was like right in front of my face, and it's hard to look away because he starts intensely looking at this stop sign and like looking back and forth, like in this stop sign for some reason it's freaking him out, and he just licks it. I've never seen someone lick a stop sign.
I haven't either.
I was like, what's he gonna do to the stop sign? But it's hard. That's addiction. It's depressing. I wish, there are ways to help. So there's shelters, there's understanding, there's ways that we can help. But I was like, wow. I wasn't expecting to see that on my drive home.
That is not what I was thinking was going to happen.
My good thing this week is that even though this weekend, your weekends, you want to have fun and kind of relax. And on Friday night, I did have like fun where I went out and was social. But like yesterday and all day today and then tomorrow, I'm like busy bee of like just getting my stuff together because I just like personally, I'm not very type A. I'm kind of type B. I'm not like people I've become a lot better. I've improved. I used to be a hot mess all the time where all my stuff was everywhere and it looks like Kenzie tornado came through. But as an adult, I've improved on that a lot, but still I'm kind of a pack rat. I'm not a hoarder. I'm able to throw things away and it's not causing me psychological issues. I'm just lazy. So I'm actually getting organized, and I've had a lot of my clothes. I have trouble giving away clothes because I bought them. I liked them at the time. They were cute at the time. And so my thing is like clothing. I hold on to clothing for too long.
Yeah. They say that if you don't wear it in 6 months, you need to get rid of it.
So guys, my closet, I like, even before the move, I give a lot away. And now I am giving away 2 more boxes.
Yay!
I'm really purging.
And giving away to good cause.
Yeah. So that's my good thing.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
only tiny 10-year-old children are going to be able to fit in your clothes.
Stop.
But they're going to look styling.
Oh, yeah. If I was in the thrift shop and I saw those, I would be like jazzed about it. Okay. What's your thing?
Here is our quote from Amelia Earhart. Women, like men, should do the impossible. And when they fail, their failure should be a challenge to others.
Oh, that's like foreshadowing.
I know.
Okay.
And she's saying, like, women, you're like men. You are like men. Period.
People are
in a
people.
statement.
People. Even sexualities, gender differences. People are people. All right.
We hope you liked our episode.
We love you guys. Hopefully this one was long, but it's a lot. It was fun and lighthearted.
It was really fun.
Even though mine were dark. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Rate us, subscribe, follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, Facebook.
Facebook.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.